Guys, we are sitting down right now with Sean and Nick. Sean is the founder of the Go Further initiative and a badass police officer with Olathe PD. Should we talk about the other things that you do for Olathe PD? I feel like you have a lot of other titles that I'm not giving you respect for right now.
Yes. So I am on our tactical support unit. So in other words, the SWAT team. Then besides that, I do the wellness team as well. So physical, mental health on officers at the PD. We also focus on the financial pillar and the spiritual pillar with officers. And then right now I'm actively our community outreach officer. That's my full-time job at the PD. So I reach out to the community. We run events with the kids in the summer. I visit schools. I mentor kids in the schools as well. So really, I call it like a Swiss Army knife. Kind of, I do a little bit of everything.
You're the face of Olathe PD.
Pretty much,
yeah.
And then on top of that, I'm the backup PIO, so public information officer. So anytime a big call comes out, you see a lot of PDs will put out like a press release or something like that. So we take care of that in my division as well.
Sean is also has the proud title of being the longest tenured, most regular customer of Supplement Superstores since we opened.
Heck yeah. And the first one that bought Supplement Superstores apparel.
That's right.
That is true.
Third day of us in business. This gentleman came in as a young and hungry. Were you 19?
Yeah, I was probably young. Yeah.
Maybe, I thought you were still in high school.
Yeah,
maybe.
And he bought an S2 hat, and we were like, oh my gosh, dude. We're cool enough where somebody would purchase a piece of our apparel with our logo on it.
Which location was that?
Overland
Park, baby.
So the only location we had at that
time. Him and I work on the counter. I helped his mom the day before, and his mom sent him in. Shout out, Tony.
Yeah, she left me like a gift card, and I still remember the stack that Jeff put me on. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's illegal now.
It's illegal.
But listen,
we also got Nick. Nick is the owner of Avexia Health and Performance. Did I remember?
Yes.
Health and Performance.
Correct.
And dude, we just got back from a workout with him last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And dude, what a beautiful facility. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thank you, man.
How did you guys get hooked up?
Actually, it was an extension of the first time that I came here.
Yeah.
I believe that maybe, I don't know, you listened to the podcast or?
I think I listened and I was like, hey, I kind of like how that guy talks. And then so kind of even further back, his gym was in Olathe, and I was on an alarm call. So I was behind checking another business, and then I seen a gym had their door open, and I was like, oh, there's a gym over here? Because it's kind of like an older little shopping center.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And I creep in there. I remember Nick kind of looking at me like, what's this guy doing? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, hey, man, I didn't know there's a gym here. And he was telling me about it. And then so I saw the podcast. I hit him up again. I was like, hey, man, I want to do a first responders workout. Is that something you'd want to do at your gym? And he was all for it. So then we kept in contact, and then we did the first responder workout. What do we have, like 17 first responders out there? I think
it was right around there.
Hell yeah.
He led an awesome workout, and they all loved it to the point, people were like, hey, we need that in the PDs, so it was really good. And then we got to the ruck after that.
We'll get to the ruck in a second. But Nick, I want to highlight too, just, how first responders, how close they are to you and where that came from.
Yeah. My dad, I grew up in a family of medical professionals, people that, paramedic, firefighter, EMT. My stepmom was an emergency room nurse for 20 years. And so I grew up in a family of people who served as first responders, whether that was on the scene or people responding to whatever the call was when they get dropped off at the hospital and whatever those crazy situations are. So getting a chance to see that firsthand and live that as a kid of people who live that lifestyle professionally, it was a good opportunity for me to kind of just see what the industry is about. And honestly, that's how I got into fitness. I originally thought I was going to go to something medically based. Pre-physical therapy is what I studied, and PT school didn't work out for a variety of different reasons. So I got into the fitness industry. And then in 2019, unfortunately, my dad passed of a brain aneurysm. And I think looking back on it now that I'm old enough to really reflect on the situation, there's probably more of that had to do with underlying stress that wasn't maybe coped with appropriately. And so whenever I heard about what the Go Further initiative does and how that provides wellness initiatives to help people create healthy outlets for the stress that you see when you go in on a call and a house is burned down and you got to pull somebody out and you unfortunately can't save everybody, or you're called to the scene of a motorcycle accident and see some crazy stuff, or whatever you guys see, even in your situations too. I'm sure there's a laundry list of things I could spit out, but getting a chance to really go back and look at, okay, man, now that I understand the kind of stress that industry puts on people, what better opportunity for me to give back than to try to find ways to be able to connect with people who are trying to make moves, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Sean, can you expand on that? You know, is that, you know, in your day-to-day life, is that something that you guys are dealing with on a regular basis, the stress of the job? Because you hear about that a lot, but I guess give us some examples of what a police officer has to deal with on a regular basis.
Right, and like you said, so I can only speak to, you know, police officer because that's what I do, but I think it goes hand in hand with all first responders. But I mean,
is there any situations where a police officer is not at like the most insane? You know, it seems like a police officer is always there first.
Thank you. I like that you said that.
I don't know anything about anything, by the way. So if there's an EMT listening to this, I don't know.
Right. So like we go to medical calls because sometimes it will come out as somebody has fallen, right? Can't get up, you know, like so. But really, what could have happened is somebody pushed them down or something criminal happened. So there is times that we'll go respond to those just to rule that out. And then we wait for fire or medical to kind of clear us off of that. But we have to go check, right? But as far as like the stress, and I think it goes kind of unseen in first responders' eyes, is we don't really realize it sometimes until it's too late. But like I tell everybody, we don't get called because, you know, Johnny got straight A's, right? We're getting called because it's probably something bad happened, or if it's not somebody's like most traumatic thing. So we go here, and then we go back down here. And we go here, and we go back down here, right? So you're in a stressful situation, and then you're back down to a low. Well, then you're also working shift work, right? So you have day shift, evening shift, and then midnight shift. We work around the clock, so you're not seeing your family as much. You're hanging out probably with your shift mates more than you are your kids and your wife or whatever it may be. So you add all those things together, and you kind of get blinded by like, am I stressed or am I not? Or this is just part of it.
This is just normal.
This is just normal.
You like kind of
right?
fall into this like, this is just my new normal.
Yeah, it's like you're normal, and I was there. And then you start doing whatever with your buddies. And kind of like Nick had said, you get into bad coping mechanisms. And a lot of times in the first responder community, it's alcohol.
Yeah.
Or food.
Or food.
Or other substances.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't think that just because they're in a position of influence with law enforcement or being in the medical field or being more in the firefighter field, like I think you find that people find their coping mechanisms the same way they do with other traumas. And it's interesting you mentioned something about having to be up and having to be down. What I remember the most as a kid, hearing about stories from calls that my dad had gone on in those situations, it'd be like, I have to show up on people's worst days of their life and bring peace to the situation. So not only are you up internally, you have to be down externally.
Yeah.
So I
You have
totally
to be like
understand
calming
that.
to the people that you're
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
to.
you got to be the solution, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
So
when you
I
get into
that.
it, you're told like, hey, you have to have this dark sense of humor. You're going to see some things, but you just have to kind of compartmentalize it and go on about your day.
Bury it deep down.
Right. And it's like, I mean, that's definitely
doesn't work.
That's definitely, it doesn't work for the long run, right? I mean, and really when you get down to the numbers, our top two killers are cardiac disease and suicide, you know.
Both more or less self-inflicted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So we're not taking care of ourselves, you know, mentally and physically. And me personally, I always found that if I was out of the gym or something like that, my mental health was going down, or I was drinking more or something like that. And then I'd be like, okay, well, what am I missing here? It's the physical aspect, movement. I like to lift weights. Like I tell people.
Yeah, you're a meathead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always been.
But that may not work for everybody. You know, like I talk to people at the PD and other first responders. I'm like, just go on a walk, you know, if that's what you want to do. Or if you're into yoga, you know, find something to invest in yourself.
Hey guys, if you've gotten this far, we really appreciate it. And we would hope that if you are here to support local fitness, you support our podcast as well. We don't run any ads. We don't ask for much. We just simply ask you try to support the channel. Please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. And we release every Tuesday at 6 p.m. If you're interested in learning more about some of the best gyms and business owners and people in the fitness community here in Kansas City, please hit the share, like, and subscribe. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah.
You mentioned the walk, and I want to take this time to have it, just an easy transition. What is Go Further Initiative and Avexia doing together to bring attention to all this?
So April 19th, we'll be doing a 5K Heroes Ruck. which is walking. You don't have to wear a weight vest. If you want to come out as you are, push the kids, bring the family. Really, I look at it as I want you guys to come out, support us physically, and just hear what we're about. There's no fundraising goal to this or anything like that. I look at it purely, and I know my board looks at it the same, as we just want to get our cause out there and bring awareness to what we do.
I love it.
Very
so
cool,
with that being said, what does the Go Further initiative entail?
So we do anything that's going to take care of your physical wellness or your mental wellness, first responders, but also active duty military and veterans. So what we have done recently, we've sponsored year paid in full gym memberships. We've done personal training. When I first sat down with Nick, he shared a story about one of his members, that was a first responder that had some great success. And then we sponsored a couple months of his training at Nick's gym. We've done numerous of things. So on the backside of our mission, we also do chronic illness, critically injured, and then line of duty deaths. So we've worked some of that in as well. We did 2 families for Christmas. We sponsored them for Christmas. Both of those families were chronic illness. A lot of times you see it with the kids, first responders that have little ones that are battling chronic illnesses. So just really anything that's going to, our main focus is going to be taking care of our body physically and mentally.
Lessen the burden, if you will,
Yes.
that you guys have to carry every day.
Absolutely. And find what, fits for you, really. I mean, because I've reached out to first responders that do jiu-jitsu, right? It's a form of working out. We'll still sponsor some of that. If that's what you do to go get your mind off of things, not only are you getting your minds off of things and getting physically fit, but that's also a training for your job too.
Yep.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
How are you guys raising your funds primarily?
All through the community, really, events, all stuff like that.
Pickleball tournament, that was a good one.
The pickleball tournament. That was actually our biggest one so far. So we just came under 10,000 on that one. So that was a great turnout. But really what I do is I like to reach out to the community. Because if you look at our website, we say stronger bodies, stronger minds, better lives, better service. So if we could pull the community support to our cause, you're getting better service, the better we are whole, right? And it's kind of like one of those things is everybody has something to say about us, right? Whether it's physically or whatever. If we're not doing our job, we're doing it wrong. If we're doing our job, we're still right.
Can't win.
But it's like one of those things. If you want to invest in us, please do, because you're going to get what you get, right? So building that community, and like I tell Nick, like when we first met, it's really about building a community of just like-minded people, gyms, wellness centers that want to come together and make sure that we're taken care of.
You talking about like everybody has an opinion about a first responder. Since cops started wearing body cams, I don't know what it is, but like I get fed body cam videos of cop stuff all the time on Instagram.
Right.
And it's made me think 2 things. Like I could never do that job. That's insane. Like, because they're only showing you the craziest situations that you run into.
Right.
And it's like, man, I think it's also a good gateway for people to see like, this is what, people deal with,
Right.
This is what like an actual police officer shooting looks like. And it's usually involving somebody with a knife or some, the craziest situations.
Like you have to make that decision so fast, right?
It's,
like, am I going to go home today? Like I have a wife and kids. I want to go home, and then you get that scrutiny. And a lot of times in the media, they show the 5 seconds.
Whatever's going to make them have the most fire, like whatever's going to bring the most comments, the most people pissed off.
You think that's a negative, or you think that's a positive?
Some serious bait.
The body cameras?
Yeah.
I think it's a positive because we have to be held accountable too.
Yeah.
Because we don't agree with everything that you see. Some bad apples out there, right? So I think that it brings light to those bad apples. However, like when I talk to people about it, I'm like, think if we put body cameras on doctors. Think if we put body cameras on paramedics.
I'm glad you mentioned that. 'Cause I think
Stuff like that. Because how many times do you hear these stories like, it's like, oh, my aunt or somebody went back to surgery and then the doctor just comes out and says, oh, they didn't make it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like imagine if I went into a call for service where somebody had a gun. I went in, all doors are closed, and I'm like, come out and I'm like, oh, they didn't make it. What happened?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of that probably happened in the early days of policing. And now we have body cameras and there's accountability to everything.
Very true.
What were you going to say, Nick?
No, I agree with that. And I think in every line of work, you have people that aren't as good at it as maybe others, right? You guys experience that. You talk about the difference in S2 versus other supplement stores. I experience that as a coach every time I sit down and someone's like, well, I'm not sure if I want to work with somebody because I had this experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, what line of work is it more important for people to be held accountable?
Right.
You can't think of many, doctors.
Yeah.
People
You see a lot of videos of like cops that are really shaken up in certain moments where you're just like, ooh, man, that guy needs to train that specific situation more.
Well, right. And it's like we can't, and that's the thing. It's like, you have to train that specific situation.
Yeah.
Well, I could go to a simple shoplifting 10 times a day, but every single one is going to have a different aspect.
You can't really
to it,
exactly
right?
train
so you
every
can't,
situation.
So what we do is also good. So I have this body camera now. I can create a scenario to now put my department or my officers through it so they can see that and kind of what they do and how they would react. Because I always tell people, like, think what you would do, if somebody just randomly pulled a gun on you, because we're going into stuff and we're seeing stuff that probably 99% of the population is never going to run into.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's the bottom line. So,
Yeah.
Regarding the Go Further initiative, do those funds stay locally, Sean?
yes.
All of them?
As of right now, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was cool for everybody to hear. So, every dollar that you guys raise is going to help out a local first responder or military.
Absolutely. We focus locally first. Absolutely, 100%.
Do you have other people that help out with the Go Further initiative right now, or are you a one-man show?
Yeah, I have a board. So we have 4 board members. They help out. But when I first started it, I'm very it's building a brand, right? You're kind of very protective of it. And the guy who kind of mentored me to start mine is Will Bates out in St. Louis, and it kind of all started through supplement superstores.
We'll be inspired on Instagram.
Oh, absolutely,
man.
my man. It's kind of funny we joke because I'm going down there this
Throw them
weekend.
up there, Luke.
I'm going up there this weekend with them. We're going to the summit at First One.
At 1P?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But when we went down there for the program at the headquarters, I saw Will. I'm like sizing him up. I'm like, who is this guy that everybody's shaking his hand,
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we're like following each other on Instagram, and then we get to chat, and then we hit it off. That's my guy.
Small. My God, what is he, 6'3"? Looks like a WWE wrestler.
Yeah. And then we hit it off, and he's mentored me on starting mine. He does great things, and every time I have a question, I'm like, hey, Will, have you ran into this? And he's been an open book, man. I love Will. Really do.
Well, dude, I just want to tell you from, man to man, I'm super proud of you. I mean, dude, I've known you for like a decade now, and just watching you, you look around and I see you as a young man, and then you choose, to serve and be a police officer when, we were trying our best to recruit you, come work for us. And dude, you look around and you see like the world happening around you, and you say like, these are the things I'd like to change. And rather than wait around for somebody else to do it, you just pick up your shit and go.
Absolutely.
And it's inspiring stuff, man. So what you're doing is absolutely like worth doing. And we love supporting you, and we're going to continue to as best we can.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. That's why I put that initiative part on it. There's a lot of great foundations out there, but I feel like a lot of it's on that reactive side, after the GoFundMe started or something like that. And I'm like, what are we missing? If we could build a foundation beforehand, before we get to the intervention or before we get, to the cardiac disease, like that's there. And I'm a very driven person. I'm like, let's get on the front side of this.
Yeah, man. Let's change the root of the issue, right?
Yeah.
Let's get to the root of it.
And that's really another thing with first responders. We're hard headed, right? We don't want to ask for help. Why? We're 911. People call us for
we're
help.
the help.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I could get that.
So it's also breaking down like a community of first responders that are also willing to be open and be vulnerable. I'm like, yeah, I get where he's coming from. Like, guys, we're not all okay all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay not to be okay. And there's
Totally.
people out there that understand what we do and are willing to support us.
Nick, do you have some other ideas? I know you guys have already had a workout, a Go Further initiative workout at Avexia. What other things are cooking in your brain as far as ways that you guys can partner, or I guess maybe other non-for-profits that you guys want to work with?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we are really just trying to find ways to be able to expand impact. I think I mentioned that last time we were here is, it's one thing to get to a certain point and feel like you have these goals you want to achieve. And I remember you asked me a question that resonated with me, like, what are you going to do next? Like, where's the next step? And I really don't have it, because I think a lot of it's centered on how can we make the biggest impact, and the rest will come back to me. And it's that mindset of kind of like what you've talked about. And I think why I resonated with your message so much is when you put it out there and you get proactive about it, and you don't wait for other people to create solutions, and you try to find ways to integrate into other businesses, other organizations, other things that can expand the way that you can help people. And for us, it is centered on wellness, which is why I resonated with his message so much. And it's funny because when you and I first sat down, I don't know if you remember this, you had said something about like, I wanted to get to a point where I had a gym and that was just like a place where everybody came. And then you said exactly what you just mentioned, where it's like, they're not going to come here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to go to them. And so I think, I don't know that we've really defined exactly what that looks like. Like anything, you just kind of take it in stride and focus on the next action, the next opportunity. We have talked about ways to just make it more accessible, whether that's like, hey, I know you may not want to come to a gym. You kind of have your own gig. A lot of stations nowadays have the funds to be able to put stuff in their facilities. I mean, most of them have at least like a standard squat rack and some dumbbells, I'm sure, a few kettlebells, a mat, all the basics you need. So just making it more accessible without having to be physically on site for something is kind of the direction that I'm working. And I think that's one of the things we've discussed that's just like tentatively been an opportunity, is saying, hey, instead of us waiting for people to come to us and offering that, it's like, let's continue to go to them and find ways to make it convenient. Because in my opinion, at least in my experience, people are looking for the most convenient ways to make this fit into their lifestyle. And if convenience isn't a part of it, they're not going to do it, because it's something that's going to be like, oh man, I got to do this. I got to do
one
this.
more
I got to add
thing.
this on top. It's one more thing. I got kids. I got a job. I got the stress. Let me just grab a drink instead, you know?
Yep.
So finding ways to make it easier to go to them, I think, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the your new app.
Yep.
We were talking about, working through that, if we sponsor some months for some guys to get on that, because, a lot of guys, there's a pride in there, right? Mm-hmm. They don't want to ask for that help, or, they want it underneath the table. Like, I see it a lot. They'll come kind of back door after they hear me talk, and they'll be like, hey man, not for nothing. Like, what's a good workout plan? But him having this virtual app, I was like, hey man, we could probably get some people on there and we'll sponsor some months so they can have access to workouts. Cause I know you have different plans on there. To even bring in a nutritionist, because that's also huge too in our world is food.
Is anybody like from the government side of things fighting for like, a day a week or something that you guys could just spend like training and working out and anything like that? Because I feel like in your line of work that would make sense to do.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I know pretty much across the board. I think police station, fire department, medac, I think we all think that we could train more. However,
I feel like
but where do you have the
root
time?
of
It's almost like you got to do it on your own time. Am I wrong?
Exactly. You have to.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like with that, it seems like that should be, covered by.
When you think about it, we're all,
you would think
we taxpayers pay our salary, right? Yeah. So it all comes down.
Oh, yeah.
to
Never mind.
money
You got to
too.
get it out there on the street. Make sure you're.
Yeah. So
I got no more.
Right. And that's the part of it. Like when I preach to these people, like if that's what you have an issue, like, hey, hop on board, go further. That's what we're doing. We're making officers better, so come on.
I think the community aspect of that's where it's at, dude.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? It's like, it's the bigger community you can build, more people want to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
it's very cool, man.
Yeah. And that's what I love. So I kind of stole your guys' little handshake slogan. That's what you told me when I first came into supplement superstores. I tell people all the time, like, I go shake hands. I want to go to meetings. I want to shake people's hands. And you never know when you're going to shake the right one. You
got to do it, man. One by one.
have to.
One by one.
And dude, what I want to say that like is so special. I feel like it just gets overlooked and can glazed over, but it's like your intentions are so pure, like you just simply want to take something that's being known as like a civic duty or service. And it's like, no, like we're going to make this as best as we possibly can. Especially if we're going to be critiqued as much as we are, we might as well be the best we possibly can.
Right.
And I think I think the people that take advantage of the Go Further initiative could drown out that noise a lot, the fastest amongst any officer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they're doing the best they can. Regarding the ruck itself, this is going to air on Tuesday, right, Luke? So it'll be this Saturday if you're listening right now. And what time and when? I'm sorry, what time and then where?
It'll be at 8:30 in the morning. The starting point will be next gym of Exia Health and Performance. If you want to spit off the address, because
it's 11116 Antioch Road in Overland Park. So if you know where Corporate Woods is, there's a Quick Trip on the corner of College and Antioch. We're right behind the Quick Trip. Mm-hmm. Tons of parking. We've got a pretty good sized space. About fitness floor is probably up between that and the recovery space, about 4,000 square feet. So more than enough to house a ton of people. So
It's sick.
come
It's
out,
right there on the
join us.
corner of College and Antioch. You can't miss it. And for all those barbecue enthusiasts, Q39 is across the street for when you're done.
And that's, we'll have all of our vendors are local.
What vendors are you gonna have there?
You're going to have Fuel Calf KC. You'll have Kitsch out there. Beam will be out there. Scissors and Scotch. Fit Joint and Muscle. Or Muscle and Joint, one of the two. May I got that backwards. Sorry.
I messed that up when we had him on the podcast.
Every single one of these guests has been on our podcast.
That's
I know, right?
you guys, obviously, and the Dick will be out there, obviously. So I think it'll be a good time. A buddy of mine I work with, he's been an officer for quite some time. He does a small batch coffee company. He'll be out there serving coffee in the morning, Dog Watch Coffee. So I appreciate
I'm
him
bringing my
doing
whole
that.
family, dude.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
that's
Yeah, I
awesome.
think
It's
we're
going to be a
gonna
good
bring the whole
time.
pack, too.
And that just bring them out. I'm full of energy, so let's have a good time and rock it out.
Very cool, man.
Dude, it's absolutely a cause, and it's worth getting behind. And dude, just thank you guys for supporting the community the way you do. Every step that you guys are taking beyond, the job is like extra credit, if you will. None of it is something that you have to do, and you guys are choosing to do it. And just, we're very thankful to have people that choose to do the things you guys do.
Absolutely. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah,
I got nothing else.
I got nothing else either. You guys got anything else?
got nothing. Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah.
for having
Thank you
us.
guys for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
We will see you at the Ruck.
See you guys at the Ruck this weekend, Saturday the 19th. And if you listen to this after the fact, make sure you stay in tune for the next one. Thank you guys for making it to the end. That is the end of our podcast this week. We hope you'll tune in next Tuesday at 6 p.m. when we release our next episode. And as always, we really appreciate all the support. And go ahead and like and subscribe and share if you haven't already. And if there's anybody you think we need to bring on the podcast, or maybe a protein review that we haven't tried yet, make sure to include those in the comments. Thanks, guys.